Listen to Nancy Pelosi as a reporter asks her about Trump's exoneration in the Senate.
When this is over, do you think that President Trump will be chastened and understand that he's got a Congress watching him? Or will he be emboldened because the Senate will have acquitted him?
Well, he will not be acquitted. You cannot be acquitted if you don't have a trial. And you don't have a trial if you don't have witnesses and documentation and that. I would hope that the senators, if it comes to a tie or if there's a question of hearing testimony or receiving documents, would leave it up to the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Republican appointed in a Republican majority court, I would think that they would have confidence in the Chief Justice of the United States. That's really his title. And that's interesting to me that they're afraid of breaking a tie with the Chief Justice of the United States. Does the president know right from wrong? I don't think so.
She's become a crazed lunatic.
So we're talking about attacking Trump without taking a look at yourself, right? Because Trump is not a perfect guy. He's a flawed guy, but he exists in context. He exists in the context of American politics, which is frequently, almost always at election time, a binary choice. They keep attacking him. But listen to what she just said. You're not acquitted if you don't have a trial. Think about that in your own life. I accuse you of whatever I accuse you of, rape, murder, fraud, whatever I accuse you of. You're not acquitted without a trial. In other words, you're guilty until you're proven innocent. And the reason she thinks that, of course, is because the press will back her up. If the press wouldn't back her up, if the press would say, hey, you didn't convict him, he's not convicted, so he's innocent, she would have to answer that. Who's being un-American? The whole argument about impeachment was, oh my gosh, our Constitution is under attack. Our Constitution is in danger because Trump said something to the president of Ukraine. That's really what undermines our Constitution. And there's Nancy Pelosi telling us, the guy is guilty, essentially, until he's proved innocent. That's what she said. You're not acquitted without a trial. So when she says, Trump doesn't know the difference between right and wrong, again, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Look at who you are. Look at what the Democratic Party is. Mazie Hirono, this is the same woman from Hawaii who told, during the Kavanaugh trial, told men they should shut up, which, of course, is the great Democrat argument for everything. Shut up, because you're making a good point and we have nothing to say. Here was her reaction to the defense of Donald Trump.
And I don't care what kind of nice little legal constitutional defenses that they came up with.
It's like, I used to have a landlord in New York who was a pornographer. He was a horrible, horrible guy. And he was always trying to screw us, he was always doing stuff that he wasn't allowed to do. And I went down to him once and I said, you can't do that. It's not legal. And he was like this little cockroach of a man. He went, no legal, no legal. That's what she's like. I don't want to hear none of this constitutional legal. You remember the Treasure of Sierra Madre where the bandits come and they try to coax Humphrey Bogart out from behind a rock by telling them they're the police? And this is Bogart. This is a famous scene from this movie. Play this.
Where are your badges? Badges? We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Don't show me no stinking Constitution. We don't need no stinking Constitution. That's Mazie Hirono. And, they keep telling us, oh, it's an emergency. It's an emergency. Donald Trump spoke to the Ukraine and their Constitution is crumbling into ashes around you. And then they come up with stuff like this. Adam Schiff, again, this guy to me is the reincarnation of Joe McCarthy.
Little pencil neck Adam Schiff.
I can't tell whether they're actually playing these things or I'm just hearing them in my head. But listen to his reaction to this whole thing. He has been lying. He has lied repeatedly. He's lied again and again and again to the press and the public. And yet they have him on. They don't say to him, you keep lying. Why should we believe you now? But here he is talking on Face the Nation.
There's nothing that I can see that we could have done differently because, as the senators have already admitted, we proved our case. We proved our case. Now, the president's lawyers have said time and again, I think hoping through sheer repetition to make something true that is in fact untrue, that the process in this impeachment was different than in Nixon and Clinton. In fact, the president had the same due process rights, which he did not avail himself of in this process as in the prior ones. That is not an excuse that should be used by any senator for not fulfilling their obligation to hold a fair trial. They're not spectators. They have control over the proceedings, and they could have insisted on witnesses and documents, and for whatever reason chose not to. And for those who would say, well, let's let the voters decide when the president is trying to cheat in that very election, and they don't want the voters to have the full information. They want the president to continue to be able to cover it up. That's just completely unsatisfactory.
It's ridiculous because they accused him of obstructing Congress because Trump used his due process rights. They're the ones who ignore the Constitution. We don't need no stinking Constitution. And so when they yell at Trump, they should look in the mirror first. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Andrew Klavan Show. If you did, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you stay up to date on all our future content.